This is the Horse Radio Network.
This is episode 441 of the Dressage Radio Show on the Horse Radio Network, brought to you by Kentucky Performance Products and Total Saddle Fit. Tonight we're going to talk with USDF National Grand Prix winner James Coford. Lauren Spicer, Chronicle of the Horse blogger, is back, and of course we have a great trainer tip.
This is Reese Koffler-Stanfield from Georgetown, Kentucky.
And this is Philip Parks from Rockwood, Ontario, and you're listening to the Dressage Radio Show.
Hi, Phil.
It's good to talk to you.
You just left us, literally.
Well, so it's not like we haven't been chatting for a while anyways.
I know, it's true. Oh, we had such a great week, Phil. You were so much fun to have down here during the U.S. finals. It was really fun. So,
good time. I was hoping I would go south and get some warmer weather, but I think I went south and got colder weather. I don't know how that happened,
cold.
But yeah, I mean,
no way. It had to be cold. There was an Arctic blast that came through Kentucky.
I thought they call it Arctic vortex or something.
I don't know. It was Arctic.
They have all these new names, these new weather names.
Yeah, it was cold. Anybody that was at the U.S. finals knows how cold it was. It was, and I'm sure all of the country was really cold, but we went literally from almost 80 degrees. We broke a record in Kentucky the Sunday before the nationals, and we had a storm, really bad storm, come through, and then all week it got colder and colder and colder and colder. I think the coldest it got was like when I went to the horse park on Sunday or Saturday for early morning walking. It was 19 degrees. That was very cold. Yeah, that was, and even for Phil, the Canadian, was cold. That's how, you know. Yeah. But it really was a fun week. We had a great time.
Beautiful show. Yeah, I mean, that was the second time been down for the finals. So I think there was it's very busy, a lot of hustle bustle and a lot of horses and a lot of, I think, nervous riders. You can see people just like super focused walking around and doing stuff. So, I had no pressure on me. I had a good time. I was relaxed.
we brought the pressure to you, but we had a really good show. I mean, it was a lot of environment for Elancourt. He's been there before, and so he was good about that. But that, along with doing he's pretty green I1 horse still. But I was really overall very pleased with him, and we had some adversity. There was some issue, not with us. We got in the arena, and we were on a hold, and nobody told us, so we had to kind of walk around for about 8 minutes in the main ring, so that took our wind. Yeah, took our wind out of our sails a little. But he was as good as I could have asked.
He was very good. You guys did a great job. Yeah. I think it was very good, and and there's things to work on. There's always things to work on, and things that you're gonna take away from the show and to develop and to work on before you. I mean, you're not going to jump right back into the show ring right away. So I think I got a great plan for him, and he's developing really nicely, and it was nice to see, because I haven't seen you guys in a little while, so we had a wonderful visit.
And we're going to talk a little bit later in the show. Our trainer tip's going to be a little bit about what we did last week and what it's like to really train the week before a competition, because that is a really critical time where you want to
how to properly prep the horse for a big show coming up, and we'll tell you what we were doing and what we were training, and some strategy that we brought to your ride. So I think that's really great.
Yeah, so that's going to be our trainer tip. But we have a fantastic show, and I hope you guys enjoy our first guest. It comes on all the time, and you'll see her in the interview. Lauren Spicer is coming on of Spicer Sport Horses. She's going to talk a little bit about her blog that was just in the Chronicle of the Horse, and also about how we as listeners can give her a little help with her horse that has been sick. So hope you enjoy. Well, tonight we are so happy to have Lauren Spicer of Spicer Sport Horses on the show. Welcome, Lauren.
Hey, guys. How are you?
We love it when you stop by the show. It always makes us happy.
Well, I'm always happy to come by.
So you just did a great article for the Chronicle of the Horse. And of course, we read it and we're like, oh, yeah, we need Lauren on. So tell us a little bit about what you just wrote, your blog. It was great.
Well, let's call a spade here. Yes, I meant what I wrote in the blog, but really, I just wanted an excuse to post a picture of me wearing this incredible $900 dress that I rented to go to a wedding with my boyfriend, because that dress made me look incredible. And as a horse girl, you just don't have that many opportunities to look incredible. So
True.
I had to write a blog to go along with it.
You did look incredible, by the way, in that dress.
Thank you very much. Thank you very much. The blog was about having a life and having a life outside of the horse industry. And you two, I know, have been in this industry as long as I have. And when you're a kid and you have nothing but energy, it's all horses all the time. And then the burnout starts. And all of a sudden, you're spending even longer hours in the barn because a client needs this, or a horse is sick. And suddenly you haven't had a day off in 3 months. And you're starting to chew off your own hair. And I think that's how we lose a lot of really wonderful people in this industry who just can't hack it. And I wanted to write about how important I have found it to have a little perspective to do other things, both social things like wearing a hot dress to a wedding, but also having other stuff to care about, having other, I'm involved in politics. I like to go hiking. I have a dog, just something to get your rear end and your brain out of the barn.
Yeah, I think you're absolutely right. And I think that the challenge is, it is true, as you're young in your career, you're sort of ride anything, you'll take anything, you're just happy to work with horses. And for us, typically, I would say for trainers in general, it's not really the horses that are the problem. They're the easiest. It's a universal. And we love our clients, but I think the biggest pull is the fact that there's a conflict, and that our clients, it is everybody's social time and fun time to come to the barn, but it is a trainer's job. So everyone else is escaping their job, but it is our job. So it's a little bit of it's just a complicated situation. You bring that in. So when everyone else is having fun, you're like, I'm missing a family event, or I'm missing whatever, that you're doing. My husband's going somewhere and I would really like to go, or I'm missing a play. Or so eventually I think it catches up with you like, oh, wait a minute, there has to be a little bit of work-life balance. And as we get older and maybe have spouses that are not in the barn all the time, they kind of say the same thing, like, wait a minute, your job is far off of the scale. And so I think it's easier if you have a spouse that isn't interested in horses, because my husband is wonderful and will rein me in, be like, okay, we gotta go on a date. You gotta take a shower, like put on a hot dress. Phil, what do you say? You jump in here.
Well, I mean, I find it like for the people who are showing year round, that becomes very difficult, because when you go to, I know what it's like when you guys go down to Florida and it's just another summer season, and so you can definitely be burned out in that situation. Whereas because I stay home and I take a little bit of time during the winter off of the horses and whatever, I mean, for the summer there's always a pull, because I have a large group of friends and they're not horsey at all. And it's always like, oh, let's go to a baseball game. Let's do this, let's do that. And I know that, May through September and sometimes April to October, it's horses every weekend, every day. And you have to be super focused, otherwise you're not going to be successful, right? Somebody is going to outwork you or give your clients more service, and then you lose your business. So I mean, it's just part of it, and accepting that you have to do. But for me, I just accept that during the summer, very, very, very busy. Winter, it calms down a bit. We take some vacation. I was able to go and see Reese. I can do other. I mean, that was horsey, but it's just something a little bit different. And so I try and create that balance of work time and then a little bit off time. But yeah, for those Florida competitors and the guys doing the CDIs and making, working on making the teams and all of this stuff, I just don't know. I think the burnout factor can be very, very high.
It's not just about hours in the barn. Well, that's huge. But, talking about trying to make teams, CDIs, having big goals. If something happens, if you don't make the team, if you fall short of the goal, when that's your only thing then that's your only thing. And, I have bad rides at horse shows. I've had a crappy year competition-wise. I still have clients that I love. I still have, a running habit that I love. I've still managed to go hiking a couple weekends a month. I'm still involved in things that have nothing to do with my competitive career. And you can't be one note. That laser focus thing that lets us all play at the level we want to play at can also make you chew off your own hair. And having other things to care about, having diversified interests, just makes the blows come a little softer. It makes them land a little softer.
Yeah, no, I totally agree. And I love it. And I think, we all have to remember that. And, it's just simple things. I think when the burnout, just a reminder, I have a kind of an 8 and 8 policy. Like, I don't really want to talk to anybody before 8 o'clock or after 8 o'clock, unless it's an emergency. People get into, we don't want text at 11 o'clock at night. It makes us crazy. And I think we've all gotten
Do not disturb function on the iPhone is wonderful.
Yes, exactly. But you forget because you get busy and you need to talk to your trainer or whatever. And sometimes it's like, hey, that could really wait till tomorrow. I don't need that at 11 o'clock at night as I'm trying to go to bed. That's not so nice. But no, it's so true. And I think Philip and I both have our own different interests and things that we enjoy doing. And I'm very lucky. My spouse kind of will drag me out. We have the barn kicking and screaming sometimes, but we'll go and do some other things. And I love it. And, I'm lucky I also teach college and, I do some other things that sort of get me out of the barn, which I enjoy. And it makes me enjoy my barn time even more and my time, which is great. So I 100% agree with you. So I love it. And tell us where you got the dress. So for all the horsey girls out there, this is this was a huge point of this blog.
Oh, this magical website called renttherunway.com. You, for a very low fee, can rent a very fancy dress for 4 days, and all you do is stuff it back in the bag, stuff it back in the prepaid envelope, and ship it back to the company. They dry clean it. They send you like the dress that you ordered plus a backup size in case you're, optimistic about how big or small you are. It was wonderful. I highly recommend it.
Oh, it's so fun.
Good.
I love it.
You should give it a try, Phil, for your next Black Friday.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes, you're right there. You're right there. I love it. Well, Lauren, we want to help you. We been watching online. Can you tell us a little bit about what happened to your wonderful Danny and how some of our listeners can help?
Sure. 24 hours after wearing that incredible dress, you want to talk about back to reality. My top horse, who's a 9-year-old Dutch gelding named Danny Ocean, needed to have emergency colic surgery. And that is awful and terrible. And I'm so sorry for everyone else who's ever had to go through that. This was my first. But to make matters even worse, I thought that I had insurance coverage for him that covered colic surgery. And it turns out I don't, that he was excluded from that because of a non-surgical colic incident last year. And then he came home from having colic surgery and is actually now back in the hospital getting $5,000 of antibiotics for an antibiotic-resistant infection. So I'm looking at about a $25,000 bill to save my horse's life that I wasn't really planning on paying this year. And sure. I wasn't really planning on not having any insurance coverage to help out with. And the incredible members of the equine community, friends and family, but also strangers, friends on Facebook, random people of the internet, amazing people have all gotten together. And I'm holding an online auction that starts on Sunday and runs through Cyber Monday. So that is Monday the,
28th.
28th, thank you. 27th, just kidding. Yeah. It'll run through that Monday. People have been donating some really cool stuff, not just horsey items, but also some non-horsey things. I have lessons from people all over the country. I have saddles and equipment, really cool educational things, a private bidding workshop with Beth Heast of the Horse, of course, some great supplements from my sponsors at Euclid Equine Nutrition, just an incredible incredible lot of stuff, and that will run for a week. And you can find the link to that auction when it goes live. It is not yet live, but it will be on my Facebook page, which is Lauren Spreiser. Spreiser is spelled Sprieser.
Awesome. And maybe we can get a link. Yeah. We'll put a link on our show notes too, Lauren, so that our listeners can also pop in. So it sounds like it's going to go live on Sunday, right? And then go all the way to
this Sunday midday, and then through American Thanksgiving into Cyber Monday. So if you're thinking of Christmas presents,
yes,
check out my auction.
Come check out your wow. we hope we can drive some people there, and that we can help with Danny's recovery, because you're a great contributor to our show, and we really, really appreciate it. So everybody check out Lauren's page on Sunday, and we'll also put a link on our Facebook page and also on our show notes page. So Lauren, we wish you well, and we hope we can help, and thank you, and enjoy also some family time over the holidays.
Thank you very much, you guys as well.
Well, I hope everybody enjoyed Lauren's interview. And if you have any more questions, we certainly here at the radio show can help. And you're welcome to send us an email. And right after this commercial break from Kentucky Performance Products, we're going to come back with James Coford, and he's going to talk to us about his Grand Prix freestyle.
No words can describe the depth of the bond between a horse and his person. A kiss at the gate just before you turn him out. The soft touch of his muzzle on your hand as he scoops up the treat out of your palm. The warmth of his body under your legs as you saunter bareback across the pasture. The beat of his hooves as you gallop in perfect rhythm cross-country. The sensation of flying as you clear the oxer. The sense of peace that comes over you as you walk together down the quiet trail. The sound of him contently eating his dinner. The feel of his warm, soft coat under your hand. The feeling you get when it's just you and your horse. It's why we do what we do at Kentucky Performance Products. This feeling is brought to you by Equidual. Fight back against an energy crisis that can impact condition and performance. Equidual is a high-fat, low-starch and sugar formula that was developed to safely meet the energy needs of your horse. The horse that matters to you matters to us.
Well, tonight I am so happy to have Jim Coford on. He was the winner of the Grand Prix Freestyle on his gorgeous Adalia, and she is a Frisian sport horse. Welcome to the show.
Thank you so much. Glad to be here.
Well, you are such a sport because you are teaching a clinic, and I said, oh, you were the star. I need you to come on the radio, and you were such a good sport to come on. So tell us a little bit about your girl. She is beautiful.
Well, I rode her father, and I've ridden a bunch of her brothers and sisters, and I've worked with the owners for on and off for, I don't know, probably 10, 15 years. And she came, I'm in Knoxville, Tennessee now. And she came a couple years ago. She came for a clinic, and because she was 7, and they had an in-house trainer that was training her, and was doing a very nice job. And, but she came in the ring and was teaching, and it was just like, oh my gosh, like this is the, like, I have to meet this horse. This horse looks like so much fun. And anyways, she just had that presence, that a sparkle in her eye, and you're like, this just looks like so much fun. So anyway, like 6 months later, they lost their in-house trainer. She decided to take another job. So the owners called me up and said, hey, what do we do with this one? And I was like I got a stall waiting. So anyway, and I just remember so vividly. It was such a visceral, strong reaction when I saw her, just because she has this like presence. And even though, she was just sort of all over the place, there was legs everywhere, she just had this, I don't know, presence. And I just thought she was amazing. So I brought her home, and I came in, and I just remember the way the staff looked at me, and I was like, look at my new project. And they were staring at me like, wow, what are you going to do with her? And I was like, I don't know, but isn't she fabulous? And so I like I said, it was a non-traditional, but they rapidly were, converted when she came in the barn and she charmed everybody because she's got such a funny personality and such a zest for work. And like I said, so we just sort of molded and shaped it, and she's come along quite nicely.
Oh, she is.
Yeah. What exactly is her breeding? What's the stallion? What was the mare?
So her father was a horse called Nico, and he was imported from Holland, and he was half Dutch warm blood and half Frisian, and he was a black and white stallion. And so they imported him, and he, it's sort of an unusual cross, but anyways, they bred him with Frisians, they bred him with Arabs, they bred him with Thoroughbreds, and it's really funny. He produced so many Grand Prix horses. They just all had a really serious talent for Piaffe Passage, and so I was a big fan. He didn't breed that much, but the ones that he bred were great. And then she had this wonderful breeding program. She sold horses all over the world, and on Christmas Eve 10 years ago, they had a barn fire and literally lost the stallion, lost the mares, lost the babies, lost everything. And Adaya was outside because she was sort of a gawky 2-year-old, and she was not one of the big fans. She's a little bit unusual looking. And so she wasn't, she was just like, one of the ones, we're just going to throw out in the field. So anyway, she was outside. And anyway, so she's one of the few surviving members of that breeding program. And I am so fortunate that, like I said, she's come into my life because, like I said, it was a really an unusual program, but really sort of purpose breeding, Grand Prix horses. It's amazing how many really, really nice, there, some are like Adaya that show tremendous talent for hopefully CDIs. Others are more amateur, but they all seem to have a talent for it, which is, really what, it's hard to find, a horse with substance and bone and a great brain and straightforward to ride. And so, anyway, so I thought it was, it took a long time for her to actually sort of the owner to sort of decide to keep going. And since then she's, there are some relatives that it's just a much smaller scale. But like I said, it's I'm so thrilled that at least we can keep the program going a little bit. So.
Absolutely. Wow, what a story. My goodness. She does. She has quite the presence. And she went to the developing Grand Prix this summer as well. I mean, she's done quite a lot. I saw her in Wellington under the lights, and you were dressed as Aladdin or not dressed. That was when I saw her. Your blue painted chest, and I thought, this is a really amazing horse. And she went out there, and it was in the evening. It was kind of cold for Florida, and she just rocked it. And then she went to the developing Grand Prix, right, this summer, and did quite well.
Yeah. Well, it's funny. I don't do sort of a traditional way of training. I don't like shows are really expensive, and when horses are on my dime, then I try to do things like exhibitions to sort of give them the experience. And so that the thing I did this winter at the Polo Club was just a chance to see what she's like at night under the lights, a big crowd, and because those are conditions that are really training challenges, but also training opportunities, so that when I competed at the Alltech Arena, she's at least had been in challenging situations, so it gave me a sense of what she's like under challenging conditions. So I did the Aladdin thing, which was a little embarrassing because it was in body paint, and there was the lighting was challenging, and I mean,
you're a good sport. You're a good sport about it.
But it's just so funny because the theme of that song, "You've Never Had a Friend Like Me," it was sort of like, it was sort of, I don't know, it was a fun song to ride her to, because that's how I feel about her. She's like such a funny, good friend, and so anyway, so that was fun. And then we did quadrille at Global a couple of weeks after that, which was a 6-horse Grand Prix quadrille in the intermission for the Grand Prix freestyles one night. And so that also gave me a sense that, this horse might be a little bit special, because there we are there's 6 Grand Prix horses and we're riding to music. And at one point in the quadrille, she leads it. We come charging down the center line to a Prince song called "Let's Get Crazy, Let's Get Nuts." And so we're cantering down. Everyone follows me. All of a sudden, Prince hits these certain notes in that song, and she's like, "This is where I do ones." And at that point, she was really greeting the ones, and she went flying down the center line doing one tempies. Like I was like basically hanging on. I wasn't asking for them, and it was just made me realize like she's into this. And so
she loves to perform. Yeah, I think that really shows. Yeah.
Yeah. So like I said, it's really fun when you get to share that with a horse. And I used to do eventing, and I even did a 4-star, and when you have a horse that can actually do a 4-star, it's like there's so many horses with talent, but which ones will actually do that for you? And that's how I feel about so fortunate to work with her. They may come in unusual packages, but sometimes there's just this sparkle in this eye, and this that they just have that extra little bit of try. And it's like I didn't know what I was going to do with her, and I still don't know. Like, we don't have any plans. It's not like the judges, like, I bought her because I'm trying to impress judges, or I bought her because I'm going to make money on her. This is just like a fun project, because she seems so into it, and I'm glad I get to do it with her. It's just a totally fun project. So.
Well, and I love it. And I love how you said, you're selective with shows, because as we all know, they're very expensive, and you're selective with what you do with her, and you're very strategic. And I think that that's really important for all of us to remember. You don't have to go to every horse show and you have to be strategic about what you do with each horse. And each horse doesn't have to be, the package that, whatever, she wants to do it, and she tries for you, and she loves you. And I think that shows the horseman in you, and in the special horse that she is pretty amazing. And that she could go in the All-Tech, right?
Yeah. And honestly too, that's another part of my, with her, I guess I feel very paternal towards her. I try to just cultivate her joy, because she has such joy in her work. And dressage can have such repetition in drilling. And like we were not terribly impressive in the small tour. The judges that wasn't really the look they were going for. And frankly, I didn't want to drill shoulder in, 8-meter circle, shallow half pass. I didn't really feel like that was going to contribute to my ultimate place I wanted her to go, which was in the Grand Prix ring. And so that's why I tried to do things like exhibitions, because then she went in the ring and she could have a blast. She could have fun, and she could show off. So instead of going in the ring and feeling drilled, like, I want the perfect shoulder in, and I'm going to do shoulder ins until I find the elusive perfect shoulder in, that would have, she's 3/4 Frisian. So like, I think that might have made her sort of dull. And so it got where I competed her very sparingly, but did as many times. I did one show at Grand Prix so I could qualify for Grand Prix freestyle, because I wanted to go in the ring and ride to music. And I didn't want to be that I have to piaffe at X. In a freestyle, I can piaffe before X. I can piaffe after X. I can, I don't even have to necessarily piaffe there. I can sort of ride by feel, ride by what seems to be working. Yes, you have a general sort of choreography that you'd like to stick to, but for her, it was more about making her feel ambitious, making her, like, letting her have fun in the ring, and not sort of restricting it. So like I said, that's what made it. So I'm relatively sort of unstructured, because it's more about the feeling. And and I'm sure the judges get quite frustrated with me, because I can be an unmade bed, and like my Grand Prix, I like you got to ride straight, or you got to ride your corners, and I'm like, oh, you're right. I just but like in the freestyle, it's just like we could, just like let it all hang out and go for it.
Well, and that's where people have fun, and that's where the crowd gets into it, and it is way more fun to ride a freestyle. I completely agree with you. That's a lot more fun, and if you can kind of move it around, and that's a really, really fun thing. And you also rode multiple other horses, right, at the finals. What were your other horses that you rode?
I had a stallion, a young stallion I have coming up, Flavius. And Flavius is a Hanoverian stallion. He's super talented, and he's 7, and he's extremely precocious. And I have not done any, he's had a much more traditional path. He's done, sort of some pre-St. George and some intermediate 1, and he's been tremendously successful. But the Alltech ring made him a little unnerved. So he wasn't quite as confident. He didn't go in there, beating his chest and swinging from the vines and doing a Tarzan yell. He was a little bit like, wow, I'm here by myself. This is so, like I said, it wasn't our show. And so, like, that's why this show that we just had at Nationals, I had 3 horses there, and just the first 2 days, I just couldn't get it together. Everything was just, I was a half step off. I couldn't ride the right to left change well. I don't know. I would look down and my leg would be shooting out here. And I think I'd never been that cold for that many days in a row. And I was just so cold and stiff and tight and disconnected and so I was quite relieved when things seemed to come together. The music playing, I'm like, all right, now game on here. Now we're ready.
It was very cold. It is, people say, because you're also local here in Lexington, and people are like, oh, you're used to it. I was like, no, it was 80 degrees on Sunday and 22 on the following Saturday. Like, no, we're not used to that. Like, that's not what we're used to. And our horses don't show. Our local shows are not in the same venue as the U.S. finals. So our horses are not used to. We're at the same advantage or disadvantage as everyone else. It's no advantage for living here other than we can sleep in our own bed.
There's no hometown advantage because we don't ever ride in the Alltech ring. You're right. And there's very few places in the United States like that. Have you ever ridden in another ring like the Alltech?
No. It's, I think, the one and only, and for horses that you do eventually want to take internationally, it's pretty much the only indoor show that I can think of. Maybe Omaha, but other than that, I and Omaha's just starting, so no, I don't think so. Not that I know of. So it's a real experience for all the horses and everyone else. I think that's one of the good things and bad things about the U.S. finals is you're up really early because there's certain times you can be in the Alltech to school and everybody's in there. So
yeah, exactly.
It's tight, and same thing with the outside arenas. And if you don't come in, once you sort of go to the horse park, you have to stay there. And so that's a bit of a challenge too. A lot of times here locally, we'll run our horses home so they sleep in their own beds as well. But you can't do that in this show. And so it is a very long, sort of drawn out show. Typically, we'll all take more horses, and you only take typically the horses that have qualified. So it's kind of, the days are super long at this show.
Yeah.
And but not long enough that we can work. It's a very different atmosphere for us here. Maybe we're a little more used to that in Florida, but here in Kentucky, we're not used to that. So it does bring some other challenges.
This show was also uniquely challenging because you have 3 judges sitting around the ring, but and then it's being live streamed. So I don't even know what number of people were live streaming, but there's quite a few people live streaming it. And then there was also the judges forum, and so there was like Ann Gribbons, Gary Rockwell, Janet Foy, and then the whole, as far as 5 stars, and then all the 4-star judges and all the 3-star judges. So Adaya is, she's doing Grand Prix, but we're by barely Grand Prix. And like under this, so we're under basically Olympic level scrutiny. And I know it's a finals, but I was sort of doing it almost like a schooling show. It's not far from my barn, and I want to get in, get used to the atmosphere, but that's a lot of scrutiny for my baby. And I was like, I know better. Just kidding. So that was an added pressure.
Well, we had the same. With both our Iowa horses, are pretty young. They've been doing it this year together, both Ford and Flavius. They're both young, and it was the same kind. Like, yeah, we're just in here because this is close, and it's a good experience. but
yeah.
it's.
I know we're not really ready. Don't be too mean. Just kidding. You know, we're trying.
It's not a
Exactly.
CGI.
You know what? How I handle the nerves. I mean, everyone has their own way of handling nerves, but like I felt it. You know, when you have a red and white horse with, you know, just that looks like she does. I was like, you don't really want to stand out as, you know, and do a poor performance because you're going to stand out either way. And but the way I thought of it is, for me, if I'm going to be under Olympic level scrutiny, I could let myself go into a spin and nerves and trying to be a people pleaser and trying to please the judges. And I thought, well, that is going to completely impact my performance in a negative way. So I sort of what I had to do for the freestyle, which is probably why it was significantly better than the Grand Prix. I alluded to like how I had done the quadrille and I had done the performance in body paint. Like if it's a performance, I put a grin on my face, I throw my shoulders back, and I just let the good times roll. And there was absolutely no pressure. And so this was a cowboy freestyle. So I put on a sheriff's badge and a bowler tie. And then to me, it was like I was in an outfit. I was in a costume. And so I was doing a performance. And I just didn't even feel like it was judged. So for me, I had to put myself in a different mindset of not being judged, but just performing. And so like everyone has their own way of doing it, but that was my way of doing it. And it actually helped free up any inhibitions because I didn't worry about Gary Rockwell. I didn't worry about all the people watching online and sort of, you know what I mean? It just sort of put me in a happy place. And so I could just be like, watch this, you know, she has the coolest piano passage tour, instead of panicking like, oh my God, what if she double taps, or what if, you know, it was in a different place. So.
No, and I think that that's the best advice, you know, for everyone who does have the opportunity to ride in the All-Tech. Everyone handles it differently. I personally just don't look. I don't look up, because if I looked up and seen all those judges, I would have been like, oh boy, wow, we're green. Yeah. But I just keep my eyes level. They were there. I knew they were there, but I just didn't look up. I just kept my eyes level. And so that's how I handle it, is like, you know what? Okay. I can only do what I can do and what my horse can do. And I can only ask him to do what he's been doing in training. And, you know, I'm like you, I went in with a relatively green horse, and I kind of had to just say that. And so I think everybody handles it differently, but I found, especially when I coach people, I tell them, do not go in there and look up, because then it's really intimidating. You have all the people eating and this in the hospitality tent, and then everybody on the other side, and then the judges are right in front of you. So just keep your eyes level. That's how I handle it, instead of sort of looking up. But everybody's a little bit different. But like you said, you went in, you had a plan, you knew how you were going to handle the pressure, and it clearly worked for you guys. You had a great freestyle, and I cannot wait to watch this mare in Florida. She just puts a smile on everybody's face. And we can't thank you enough for coming on the show and sharing about your horses. And how can people find you online if they want to learn a little bit more about her or talk with you?
Sure. I have a Facebook page. Facebook page is James Coford, or else CofordDressage@gmail.com. So yeah, either way is fine.
Fantastic. We can't wait to see you in Florida.
Okay, thanks so much.
Well, everybody, for the total saddle fit tip of the week, we're going to talk here in a few minutes a little bit about strategy. But before that, as always, you guys know how much we love the synthetic shoulder relief girth. It is a fantastic product. What's nice about the synthetic girth is it's affordable, it's antimicrobial, and for people like me, you can just give it a quick hose off at the end of your ride. And especially when you're in a hot climate and the horses are sweaty and kind of gross, that is such a nice thing to be able to do. And this girth, it fits in the natural girth groove, and it sits back so that the billets are further back, and it prevents the saddle from pulling forward on the shoulders. Even works on saddles that don't fit as well, and it simply corrects the physics of how the girth sits on the horse. So we love the unique shape, and we love the product, and it also has 100% custom shaped wool fleece cover that you can find at TotalSaddleFit.com. So, and as always, if you have any questions, Justin at Total Saddle Fit can help you out.
This week's dressage training tip is brought to you by Total Saddle Fit, home of the shoulder relief girth at TotalSaddleFit.com.
So, Phil, we've got kind of a great tip for the week, for the Total Saddle Fit tip of the week, don't we?
Well, I think it was kind of good because I came in to give you a little bit of help and to be your eyes on the ground in your warm-ups, and so maybe we can talk a little bit about how we were able to make that work, because I'm not your normal coach, right. And I haven't seen you train in I didn't go to Florida a while, like a year and a half, 2 years almost.
Yeah.
So I think one of the first things that we did was actually you sent me video of your freestyle. I saw a video of your qualifying competition. That was about 2 weeks before I came into Kentucky, and so we talked a little bit about the things that we wanted to improve, and then you worked hard, obviously, and you improved them, and then you sent me a video of you training the freestyle at home, and so that gave me a really good preparation idea of some things that we talked about, some things that I wanted to come in and improve a little bit with you before we went to the show. And just in my own, coaching mental process, I was trying to really, come up with a few things that we could correct without really getting into the nitty gritty of actually, retraining something or really pushing the horse beyond, his limits, or, because a week out or a week before the show, we don't want to be kind of fixing things. What we're wanting to do is really just nitpick a little bit and just improve things to where you can gain a couple of extra points here and there, to really show the horse off well without really developing any kind of new training ideas or new training, that we're going to bring to the horse that might frazzle him or might ruin what you do have. So I think the preparation was just about just taking what you've got and just looking for a mark here or there, and developing the horse with the mindset that you got to show him in 4 days, right? So
right.
From your perspective, what were kind of some of the things that that we did?
Yeah, so I think I call it in sort of my own teaching when I come in or I'm working with my students sort of the week of the competition, we will switch. We turn off training mode and we turn on to, I call it putting the sprinkles or icing the cake. We're just putting some icing on the cake. The cake has been made. We're just going to make it a little fancier or have some ideas. So like you said, we came in this with a little bit of a plan, and we had talked kind of through some things before. So I really, you were like, hey, I like this about the horse show. I didn't like this. And so I had a pretty clear plan on what I was working on to make it better. Again, my horse is relatively green in the I-1, but we made it to the national finals, which was great. And so there are certain things, I know he knows the test now, but now it's just the certain things like one of the things that was really helpful that was the shoulder in. In the Inter 1, you do the shoulder in on the center line. So the judges can see every little flaw that you have because it's right in front of them. So that was super helpful because you had a plan and you knew I could gain points pretty quickly. And my horse, he actually is quite wiggly in the shoulder and likes to displace his haunches in a different location than I think they should. And I actually had too much angle in my shoulder in. And it's why you bring eyes on the ground, because I thought, of course, I was perfect. And Phil's like, way too much angle. So we really made a plan on how we were going to make that better. Again, kind of icing on the cake, right? I could make that adjustment when Phil would tell me that's it, that's what it is, or start in this angle and you could go to more if you need it, but don't start with too much angle. So that was super helpful because that was something we knew with a little bit of eyes and a little bit of direction, we could fix that. And then also sort of watching my lines and watching my geometry. Those are things that you can really fix or, be alerted to that you can do in your mental prep. So those were, a couple of the things. We also worked on the changes.
We looked at the changes a little bit without doing a whole bunch of different things, not without throwing a ton of different exercises but just kind of polishing. You want to polish everything, and you want to look at things that have nothing to do with how well your horse moves, or sometimes how forward the horse is, or you don't want to be messing with rhythm problems too much. You don't, because those can take a while if you get out of rhythm, and then the horse maybe gets tense and frustrated. You're not trying to build tension, but like we said in the I1, the shoulder ins down the center line are challenging, but they're so very important, because whether you have a good moving horse or a not good moving horse, your horse has to be able to go on three tracks, not two, not four, and have a nice inside bend. That's just training. That's just practice. And that's just knowing where you are in the arena. So those are things that we thought that we can really, pick up some points on. And, you stay away. We stayed pretty much away from any of the medium or extended shots, because we don't want to throw the horse off of balance. We don't want to make the horse tense. We don't, the halts also, Reese's halts are always pretty darn good. So, but that would be another point to polish. If we needed to work on that a whole bunch, is because, again, a square immobile halt is just something you can do really well on any horse with practice.
Discipline, yeah.
So,
for sure.
And
we also played with pirouettes. Little changes in the pirouettes. That was a weaker point for my horse. He's very good at them, but he's still pretty green in them. So we worked quite a lot actually on the pirouettes, but nothing that would create
We're trying
problems.
to stress him. We're just trying to say, if you do a little bit here, a little bit, that's what you should be doing a week out from a show. Is can you do a little bit here, a little bit there? Can we simplify things? Can we get more points by making it a little bit easier for the horse rather than really challenging the horse? So pirouettes, I think in the in St. George and the I1, they don't have to be. I think Reese was going for really tight Grand Prix pirouettes.
Perfection. Let's be real.
Yeah, which were resulting with a little, some little balance and rhythm issues. So I think, I came in and said, let's just make it a little bit easier for the horse so that he can have really good balance and really good rhythm. And then you can develop tighter pirouettes as you continue to train. So I think that's important, to have a strategy coming in a week before a show or 2 weeks before a show. And, your training should be done. If you're going into a show and you're feeling like, oh, I can't do 2 tempies at all, like this, then that's not a great situation, because you're not going to do them in the show ring.
No,
right? But
it's too stressful.
Be able to polish a few things so that the horse can already do confidently is a great strategy for looking to pick up as many marks as you can, especially going into the finals, because it was super competitive. I watched a lot of the tests. There was a huge classes, and it didn't take much to separate, one horse, a 4th place to 5th place, or 9th to 10th. I mean, if you're in that class and you're competing in national finals, every horse was and rider.
Yeah, every point counts.
Represented. Yeah, everybody's good. So, I hope that can help people. With thinking about competition versus training, and like you said, turning the switch on and off a little bit, and trying to have as much success as you can.
Yeah, and I think it's really important. Just you can, hopefully you hear, Phil and I talk obviously all the time, because we do the horse show and I mean the radio show, and so he knows. Phil was there when we purchased this horse, so he's known this horse for a long time. And I think it's important that if you do bring someone in that's not your regular coach, you need to have a really solid relationship. I had a student that brought in a coach. It was a friend of her coach, her eventing coach's friend, kind of thing, and it didn't go well. So I think if you do bring someone in that's not sort of your normal, obviously you can hear Phil and I have a really good relationship. We talk about it all the time. So we had a pretty good strategy and a clear plan going in, and I knew with Phil coming down that we were going to do that and nothing was going to change dramatically. And Phil came earlier than he needed to so that we would have an extra day. And my sister came. My sister normally works with me, and she had to be out of town. So she came and we discussed things. So I think it's really important that if you do something like that, that you really bring someone in that you, number one, trust, and number two, isn't going to rock the apple cart too much. is just going to help polish it. So that is something I wanted to say, and something that we were able to do together, which was great. So thank you again, Phil, for coming. It was a lot of fun, and we hope everyone enjoyed today's show and enjoyed sort of our kind of what we did with my own horse. So as always, you can find today's show notes and links to today's guests on our website, dressageradio.com. Like us on Facebook, just search Dressage Radio Show. Follow us on Twitter at Horse Radio. My website is maplecrestfarmky.com, and my email is reese@horseradionetwork.com.
The best way to find me is on Facebook, or my email is philip@horseradionetwork.com. I'd like to thank our sponsors this week for allowing us to put on the show. And don't forget to check out all the other shows on the Horse Radio Network at horseradionetwork.com.
Everybody, keep your heels down and your shoulders back, and we will talk to you next week.